Hello, people of my page. Welcome to my channel, Speak Truth to Lies. Today, I wanted to share an article with you, but before I do, I wanted to talk about this whole black-white thing. So, in the law of color theory, black and white are not even a color. They fall into shades, black, white, and gray. Even my 14-year-old knows this. So I find it kind of funny when we're talking about race and we refer to ethnic people as black and Caucasians as white, because the door behind me, that's white. My skin, nowhere close. So I just wanted to bring that up and kind of clarify that because I find the whole thing ridiculous. So I am about to read to you a very concerning article and then offer you my perspective and perhaps maybe a different way of thinking about it. Because the language that's used in this article is very problematic. All right. This is an article on Yahoo Life titled "Whiteness is a Pandemic." I don't have much to add here today that hasn't already been said. Whiteness is a public health crisis. It shortens life expectancies. It pollutes air. It constricts equilibrium. It devastates forests. It melts ice caps. I'm kind of curious as to how that happens. Maybe the sun reflecting off of our skin. I don't know. It sparks and funds wars. It flattens dialects. It infests consciousness and it kills people. White people and people who are not white, my mom included. There will be people who die in 2050 because of white supremacy-induced decisions from 1850. Oh, so I'm assuming that we're talking about slavery here. And I think we need to understand that all people were enslaved around this point. It was a very common practice worldwide. And let's not forget the slavery that's still taking place today. But no, let's focus on what happened 400 years ago, not what's happening today. A line can and should be drawn from actions of the white supremacist who stalked into 3 Atlanta area massage parlors yesterday and allegedly killed 8 people, 6 of whom were Asian descent, to the relentless anti-Asian rhetoric pollinating national discourse over the past year. The former president and the party of the former president can and should be blamed for this and the sudden increase of racist violence against Asian Americans. Okay, so Trump's taking up space in his head rent-free. The line doesn't stop there, though. It extends back 400 years. Here we go. It has tentacles clawing everywhere white supremacy exists here in America, which is everywhere. There is a line connecting this act of terror to the 11 people at the Tree of Life Synagogue. Okay, so first off, let's go back to this massage parlor thing because the guy already stated that this was not a hate crime. He is a self-proclaimed sex addict, and from what I gather, probably frequented these massage parlors that maybe not, perhaps gave quote unquote happy endings. This is why he committed this crime. It had nothing to do with the race of the people that were in it. Acts of terror to the 11 people killed at the Tree of Life Synagogue in 2018, the 9 people killed at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church of 2015, of course, but also to gentrification, to redlining, to racial profiling, to gerrymandering, to voter suppression, to mass incarceration, to the war on drugs, to the subprime mortgage crisis, to the vast disparities in both COVID deaths and who receives COVID vaccinations, to how men and women who stormed the Capitol just went home and had dinner with their families afterwards. Okay. So, redlining, gerrymandering. These are things, these are laws, if they're still on the books. These are solvable issues. We can remove these laws from the books. Voter oppression. Perhaps maybe this guy buys into the concept that Black people don't know how to get IDs. Because when you hear the Democrats push that rhetoric about, you know, getting rid of voter ID laws, I need you to understand that this has nothing to do with Black people. It has everything to do with allowing people that are in this country illegally to vote. Okay, let's just clear that up. That has nothing to do with voter oppression or suppression, because you can't do anything here in the United States without an ID. You can't drive a car, you can't get a job, you can't get a library card without an ID. Mass incarceration. That's Joe Biden. And an awful lot of Black Americans voted for Biden. If you want to blame anybody for mass incarceration, his 1994 crime bill right here, war on drugs. Well, that was Nancy Reagan and Ronald Reagan. To the subprime mortgage crisis. Oh, that would be Obama, 2008, when they had to bail out the banks. The vast disparities in both COVID deaths and who receives COVID vaccinations. Okay, first off, the elderly should receive the vaccinations first. Okay, our most vulnerable populations. Next in line would be anybody and everybody who has pre-existing health conditions that are below the age of 60. As far as the men and women who stormed the Capitol, okay, those were idiots. I wouldn't call them white supremacists. I would just call them idiots. Plain and simple, dumb asses. While we were still processing and recovering from what we witnessed, and they were already back on their couches watching Criminal Minds. Okay, I find that laughable because if nobody was appalled by what happened last summer with the BLM protests and cities being burned to the ground, you weren't paying attention. If you really believe that what happened in a 3-hour period on January 6th was anywhere near close to what we had watched happen months on end over the summer, you need to get your priorities straight. White supremacy is a virus that, like other viruses, will not die until there are no bodies left for it to infect, which means the only way to stop it is to locate it, isolate, extract it, and kill it. I guess a vaccine could work too, but we've had 400 years to develop one, so I won't hold my breath. He's calling for genocide. I don't know any other way to describe this line here. Isolate, locate, extract, and kill it. So kill white people. This is what he's saying, that white people are the problem. So now what I want to do is I want to urge you to just take a moment. And go back and read the article with me again. And then I want you to replace the word white with Black. It's a thought experiment. And then tell me how you would feel. If you are against racism, this article should absolutely make you sick to your stomach. If you are against racism, you have to be against racism for both sides, not just white against black, but black against white. If you are against violence and you were appalled, like I was, by the events of January 6th, then you should be equally as appalled by what occurred last summer during the BLM protests. And if you're trying to make excuses as to why it was different, there's a problem, because there is no difference. There is no difference in violence. Violence is violence. There is no difference in racism committed against Black people than Black people against white people. There is no difference. What it fundamentally comes down to is ignorance. Ignorance. Ignorance is where racism stems from. Ignorant people with small minds. And we should be very careful when blaming things on any race. Lack of personal accountability in this country is absolutely deafening. Words are not violence. Differences of opinion is not hate speech. And love is love, regardless of who you love. That's it. And if you allow yourself to read an article like that, or even find yourself going, well, white supremacy, everything's white supremacy, and you don't fundamentally see what's going on and what they're trying to do. I've said in many of my videos that we need to guard our hearts and our mind, because we are in a culture war right now and the left is winning. And if you allow this toxic poison into your life and into your heart, and you start buying into one race is superior to another, whether it comes from your news sources, your pastors, your preachers, if you claim to be a Christian and you don't reject this mind virus, this parasite that's trying to infect our young people, you are part of the problem. You are not part of the solution. We have to unite as a country. And when we see articles like this, we need to say no. If you're white and you have Black friends, or if you're Black and you have white friends and you love them and they treat you well, you need to guard your hearts, because this is being pushed and geared towards you. This isn't being geared towards white people. This is being geared towards you if you happen to be Black. This is being geared towards you to make you change your mindset against people that you view as your friends. It is designed to creep into your head. It is designed to poison your heart. It is designed to make you question motives. It's designed to create division. Because like I said, if you just go back into this video and reread that article with me, and you replace the word white every time he mentions the word white with Black. If you think it sounds racist that way, guess what? It sounds racist anyway, because it is. I really pray for the gentleman that wrote the article. I mean, I don't know him, so I don't know if that's really fundamentally, like, down to his core how he feels. I'm not questioning that. I don't know him. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just wrote this piece because right now it seems to be popular to hate on white people. And it's a sensationalized piece, so it's going to get attention. I pray that that's not how he really feels. But if it's not how he feels and he wrote it anyway, shame on him. Just to get his piece out there, shame on him. We need to remember that we become what we feed our mind. We do. We become, from a psychological perspective, we become most like the 5 people we spend the most time around. We become what we read, the information that we feed our brains, the TV shows that we watch, the stereotypes that they put out, the messages that they're trying to convey. We become that. This is why critical race theory and compelling white people to denounce their whiteness, compelled speech. This happened in Mao's China when millions of Chinese died at the hands of Mao during his Cultural Revolution. If you are compelled to say something that goes against your fundamental nature and who you are as a human being, you eventually believe it, you buy into it. And this is dangerous. And the sad thing is that if you have white people in your life that you love and they're being forced to go through this, because right now it's happening all across the United States, and white people are afraid to speak out for fear of being labeled a racist, simply because they don't want to stand up and denounce their whiteness. And I can tell you from a white person's perspective why we don't think about the color of our skin. And I know some people will say it's because you don't have to. No, it's because I don't associate my identity with it. I just don't. I think for myself. And you're not going to tell me that all Black people feel this way, because I know better than that. Your perception of the world around you dictates what you see. And if all you see in the world is racism or race, if that's your primary focus when you meet people, you might be the racist. I know that might hurt a little, but it's true. And I'd be willing to bet that most of my friends don't look at the world that way. You know, Martin Luther King's message of quote unquote colorblindness wasn't a message of not seeing color, because that in and of itself is stupid. Why would you, if God created all, why would you not recognize the beauty of every individual in this world? Why? I mean, that's just stupid. Martin Luther King's idea of colorblindness was recognize my common humanity first. Me as a person, as an individual. There was a march shortly after Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and the march was called I Am a Man. And it was men from many different cultural backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds. And the march was meant, the title of the march, the name of it, I Am a Man, recognize my humanity first, not the color of my skin. Language is a powerful tool. So when you say, I'm a woman who happens to be Black, you are first saying, I'm a human being. I just happen to be this. what we're seeing today with identity politics, thanks to Kimberly Crenshaw and intersectionality, you have to say your skin color first, because according to critical theory and critical race theorists, your identity, all of who you are, is associated with your skin color and nothing more. And as far as I'm concerned, that in and of itself, it literally reduces you to one thing, when we as humans are many things. So all I ask is that you're just very careful with how you label yourself, how you speak to yourself, what you read, what you take in, what you feed your mind. And look out into the world through a lens of love and understanding. Because we're all human. We all feel. We feel deeply. And if you are appalled by what you are seeing, I encourage you to speak out against it on behalf of your fellow Americans, because it's wrong. White people are not the problem. Ignorant people are the problem. Period. Ignorant people are the problem. Until next time, my friends, remember, hypocrisy is everywhere. Speak truth to lies.